Good afternoon. Welcome to the Veranda. Today, my guest is Carlyn Addison. She's running for judge in Criminal Court Division 5. So sit back and get to know the candidate. Welcome to the Veranda.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
You excited?
Yes.
Tell me about you.
Well, my name is Carlyn Addison. I am not a native Memphian. I've been here for the last 20 years, but my mother is from here. Grew up not too far from here and in Orange Mound. I am from Birmingham, Alabama. I graduated from Xavier University in New Orleans and Southern University Law Center. First year law school, met a guy, and then I married him. So now I'm here, building a career and a family. Been practicing law for the last 17 years, and of those 17, I've been on the bench for 11.
Why did you decide to run now?
That's a good question. It was obviously I was looking at what was available in open seats, and when I heard there was an open seat, several open seats, I just weighed my options, and then I thought the one that I was best suited for was Criminal Court Division 5 because it specializes in domestic violence. A lot of what I do now at juvenile court as a magistrate judge there involves abuse, intimate partner violence, violence against children, and it's my training, adverse childhood experiences, trauma-informed focusing. Previous to being at juvenile court, I was on the bench in environmental court. Okay. Before that, I was in the public defender's office.
So you're experienced.
I have the judicial experience. I've been on the bench. I call balls and strikes. This is what I do. This is like my day job. Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, I'm on the bench listening to cases involving this community, our families and our children. So professionally, I thought I was ready for it. Personally, I wanted to be an advocate for those who have been similarly situated. Like, for instance, on a personal level, my niece was murdered by her boyfriend at the tender age of 19, some 11 years ago. That motivated me to pay more attention to things that we don't necessarily talk about, red flags, what to look for in relationships, or what to look for in intimate partner violence, because we are not talking about it, but it's a discussion that needs to be had. And having gone through that just taught me that there was so much more that we need to learn and so much more that I could do, even as an attorney. What can we do to advocate for victims? But not just victims. I don't want anyone to think that, oh, she's victim-centered. I am, but I'm also abuse-centered. What can we do to make certain that everyone's fate does not end up like Veronica's, and that we can address these issues on the forefront, like I do at juvenile court? We have children who are exposed to domestic violence. What are we doing for those kids to make certain that they don't repeat the behaviors that they've grown up with?
Okay, dealing with juveniles. In your thought process, do you take into consideration what the child has been through?
I have no choice but to. Every child that comes before me, I look back at their social record. I look back at their history to see where they come from. More often than not, my delinquent children are dependent and neglected. They were abused on some level at some time before they got to me. And it's intertwined, it's connected. It's just like truancy. If you don't go to school, someone's neglecting you on some level. So I'm also truancy champion national 2019 before COVID hit. But we knew as an identifier, if you aren't getting to school, you're probably not getting fed, you're probably not eating. We don't have that extra pair of eyes on you when you would go to school and a teacher would see you and say, hey, baby, are you okay? Or if you had marks on you. So a lot of my we call it DNN, a lot of my dependent and neglected children historically pop up on my delinquency docket, and I just shake my head because I understand that their needs aren't being met at home in some sort of way, some very horrific ways, truthfully. And what does a child do when you don't have that foundation?
What are your thoughts on parents that are allowing their students to be not present in class?
It boggles my mind. As a matter of fact, truancy is Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. And when a parent comes in, I say to them, what do you want for your child growing up? What do you expect? Your 16-year-old is reading on the 3rd grade level. What do you expect for this person to be able to do as an adult? And they are often very shocked, and I say to them, school starts August 8th. It does not start Labor Day.
So how do you feel about prosecuting those parents?
You've got to hold somebody accountable. I don't have a single problem with parental educational neglect because children did not ask to be here.
Okay.
And if you have a child in your charge, there is a compulsory school attendance law. That child needs to be educated. That child needs to be well-rounded, and on grade level, seats need to be filled at the appointed time every single day. I can't prosecute the child. Now, there is a truancy charge. Say a 17-year-old is hitting the front doors of Hamilton but walking out the back.
Okay.
We'll bring them in, and we'll leave the parent out of it because this child is old enough to know. But if you got a 6-year-old that missed 135 days of school, we need to have a conversation.
Right. Now, I do know that Memphis City schools or Shelby County schools, so many different names nowadays. They're going through a lot. And my only concern for that is the children.
Right.
I don't care what nobody did, as long as we're producing productive children in a right environment. But do you think that Memphis as a whole, as a city, needs to do more for our children and for, this is a two-part question, and for domestic violence?
I think there's always room for improvement on every level, with every agency, with every service. I have a child in school. I pay attention. I'm an advocate. I'm a bit of a helicopter mom because I understand what it's like to navigate these systems and you don't understand what's happening. So there's always more that can be done. Whatever's going on with the current school system, and I haven't committed the name to memory, I think it's like MSC.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever's going on with it, I think it ultimately takes the attention off our kids. Let's not get distracted and let's focus on what we're here for. We're here to handle these children. We're here to educate them. Let's focus on that. As it relates to domestic violence, these are learned behaviors, I believe. No one wakes up at 30 years old and decides they're going to be violent. They've seen someone react. They've not been given the tools to cope. Children are abused as early as being in the womb.
Yeah,
So
they see
it, they repeat it.
Yeah, I saw something about that that says that starts as early as in the womb.
It does. I mean, consider the fact that you're pregnant and somebody is beating you or shooting at you. That affects you, and the doctors will tell you when you're pregnant what to eat, what to not drink. But what about those emotions and those chemical imbalances and that trauma you are going through carrying the seed? So I think it starts way early, and when that child gets here, God forbid that baby's not wanted, so many other bad things can happen.
Do you agree with the, I forget the proper name for it, but where if you're given 30 years, you do 30 years? Do you agree with that?
Truth in sentencing?
Truth in sentencing.
Here's where I fall on truth in sentencing. It's the law. It's the law now. Regardless of how I feel about it, I have to follow the law. And when elected, I'll do just that. I will tell you that even, I had a discussion with some sheriff's officers about this. Law enforcement will pick up John Doe, bust him for something good, and John Doe's out 6 months, although he signed for like 5 years. Something weird. I think there should be transparency in sentencing. If you signed for 20, are you out before 20? And that's something I'm going through, and I explained this to someone else. I said, my niece's killer signed for 20, and I am afraid of the day when I'm going to drive down Lamar and see him walking less than 20 years served, and I'm going to have to explain that to my family. How did this happen? Why did this happen? But if it's the law, Addison can do nothing but follow it.
Are there, now you shared a personal story of a family member that was involved in domestic violence. What other type cases do you handle in your courtroom?
Right now, as a juvenile court magistrate, I take people through the week because this is how I remember. On Mondays, I do detentions. If a child is arrested, they have to have a hearing within X amount of hours, 48, even on weekends. Mondays, I do detention. Tuesdays, motions and preliminary hearings. If a child is removed from the custody of a parent, that parent is entitled to a hearing to discuss whether or not they are subject to an immediate risk of hurt, harm, or danger. We have hearings on that on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, custody and visitation. If a child is born to parents that are not married, custody legally lies with the mother. The father petitions the court for custody and/or visitation. I hear that. Then I have my truancy docket, my delinquency docket, contempt of court, child support, paternity establishment. There's way more that goes on in juvenile court than people will ever understand. They think we just do transfers and child support. There's so much more going on at 616 Adams, I can assure you.
Are you currently at ease, or, well, I know you have to follow the law, but are there any changes you would like to see occur within the juvenile court system that you feel would better serve the public?
We need more hands on deck, I think. I think it's easy to criticize what we do or what you think we do. Mentor a child, foster a child, develop a nonprofit or a program and help these kids cut grass and make money, build themselves up. Now, we have a good bit of programs available, but our foster care system is overburdened. COVID did not help it. It was already bad. We need placements for children who've been removed from bad situations. We need people to open up their homes, not just for babies and little tiny infants that smell good, but for these troubled teens, for these toddlers that have gone through so much and are suffering from adverse childhood experiences. Open up your hearts and your homes to these babies, because they did not, again, ask to be here.
Now, with that, is there, I know when they turn 18, they turn out of foster care.
They can.
They can.
They can, but they're also, we have an extension of foster care.
Okay.
As long as you're in school, you can get a stipend, we'll help you find housing, and you can continue to grow. No one kicks you out. But there are people who are sick of the system. They don't want to be in it after 18.
18, they can't wait, and they're on their own.
They're done.
So with the foster care program, is that something you can expound on briefly about the process of that?
Being a foster parent, or how one gets into the system?
How one not necessarily gets into the system, because I'm sure you all know how your kids wind up in foster care. So you take care of your baby.
Well, some people don't. They're always shocked when I say, is the child going into the department's custody? What does that mean? They don't get, I'm serious. A lot of people do not know. They come to court, they know that there's been some issue, and they think that that child is going to leave with them that day.
So you actually can remove a child that day from their parent?
Yes.
Does that, and I'm sure you do it because it's warranted and it's needed, and you have the evidence to prove that this child is not being kept safe in an environment that's nurturing.
Right. So,
tell me one story that has really tugged at your heart where you had to remove a child.
Pick one. I had a few today. I had dependency and neglect today. And one last week was pretty bad. I had a special needs child. And this child didn't know anyone else but the person taking care of them, which was a non-parent. But the parents' rights were unaffected, but they were negligent. You know, they were neglectful, they were abusive. And just the thought, and I didn't remove, but just the thought of having to traumatize that child to be placed in a different home with people they didn't know, with their things in a garbage bag, bothered me for the rest of the night. Like, that was something I took home, because that baby, these kids come here and they rely on us. They rely on adults, and they're trusting of adults. And when adults fracture that trust in some sort of way,
that fractures that child. And that child becomes a fractured adult, possibly a fractured parent.
Hurt people hurt people.
That's right, hurt people hurt people. Are you confident? Well, I'm not going to say that because you seem pretty confident. Your choices that you made as a judge, has there ever been one that you regret?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, whether it was me shutting down a strip club at environmental court and people are out of their jobs, or whether it was me removing a child, but I'm following the law and I'm doing the best that I can with what I'm presented. You know, people think that you put on this black robe and it's a shield of armor. It's not. We're people, and more often than not, I've gone home and just been like, wow, what a day, what a day. But I have made some mistakes. I've made some rulings that I felt were mistakes, but they were within the law.
Within the law. And that's something that you have to follow. you have to, as an officer of the court,
Right.
you have to follow the law.
There's some things I've not felt good about, but I have to follow the law. And I can only work with what people bring me. I can't manufacture evidence. I can't go seeking evidence. If this side brings me something, I have to look at this side, and I have to figure it out.
Between the two sides, legally.
Legally, what's best for this child, and what have you presented this court so that I can make an informed decision?
Speak to the camera.
Okay.
Tell parents something, speaking from your heart, to let them know to take care of their babies. I don't know if I phrased it right, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
We need all hands on deck. I don't have to tell you to turn on the news and see what the effect of children not being properly parented could be. I don't have to tell you that a child unsupervised at any time is a dangerous situation. I don't have to tell you that leaving your car unlocked and a gun in it may warrant in your car being burglarized. I don't have to tell you to check Timmy's backpack before he goes to school. We need to be mindful of what our children are doing, whether you are, and we say parents and we use that term loosely, but if you are a child's adult, be it a grandparent, an auntie, an uncle, a cousin twice removed, we are losing our valuable resources in our kids. Whether they are dying, whether they are being detained, they are literally all we have, and but for them, we have no future. Pay attention to your kids. I am begging you.
With that being said, I support this lady, Miss Addison, from Court Division 5. I want my viewers to support and vote for her. She's told you what her visions are. She spoke from the heart. We have so many politicians that stand up and tell you what they're gonna do and how they're gonna do it and this, that, and other. She's telling you what she's done. So I want you to support this lady. I want you to vote for her. This is Carlyn Addison, Criminal Court Division 5. Thank you for coming to.
Thank you for having me, Division 5.